Hey everybody, welcome to knife video number 2 from me. First did my Sebenzas, and there's one thing I forgot to mention on those is that I've heard arguments against their sharpness, which I'm about to compare to with these, and I used to think that they weren't the sharpest things around also, but after I learned how to sharpen properly using the right equipment, you can get your Sebenza pretty damn sharp. So that's that. These are Murray Carter neck knives. They're custom made. Two orange G10, one blue G10. Murray Carter had an end of the year sale where it was buy two get one free, so I bought two and got one free. These are all about, I think, $340 a piece, so they're not cheap, but they're well worth it. Murray Carter, if you're not familiar with him, is a Canadian knife maker who lived in Japan for I think 17 years, training, learning how to make these knives. Now he lives in Oregon. He's a great guy. He takes such pride in his work, and he also teaches how to make stuff according to his methods, but the classes are really expensive. I hope to take one day, but they start at $2,000 and go all the way up to $10,000, so you got to have the time and the money, and I would rather just invest the money in the knives right now. This, we'll start with this one. This is the an original profile neck knife. It's got an orange G10 handle. It's pretty light, it's pretty thin, it's got nice ergonomics, and like all of these, it's razor sharp. Murray Carter prides himself on his process of hand forging knives with laminated Japanese steel so that the edge is as thin as possible, and the edge holds up because the carbon core is very hard, but it's not brittle either, so it won't chip. That's what you get with, over 2,000 years of metallurgy in the Japanese tradition. These steel formulas haven't been changed in that long a time, and it works. And you have to know how to heat treat it and temper it properly, and they're hand forged. This shape is forged. Every single one is shaped differently to a certain degree because they're all done by hand. They're not blanked out of a piece of steel like most knives are. And they are flat ground because he grinds them on water stones instead of a belt sander, so that they're not hollow ground. And basically the knife just has a bunch of unique features because of Murray Carter's knife philosophies. That he just believes knives don't need to be thick, they don't need to be rugged like a Strider or something like that, or a bussy combat knife. They just need to be thin and razor sharp, made with good steel, and you can't really do any better than that. This is a shorter version of the same knife, and it is also thicker slightly. I think this is actually my favorite one right now. It was kind of ironic when I originally bought these three. This was my least favorite, and now it is my favorite just because I've grown to appreciate it. It's a stubbier blade with a thicker handle, so it's good for more intricate work. But it's so beautiful from every angle. I love it, and the blue G10 is just very pretty. It's darker in real life than what I think this video is showing it as. It's more of a royal blue as opposed to a sky blue, and does have red liners where the other two have black liners. And the third one is a clip point tactical version. Murray has various shapes of neck knives that he'll make two or three different shapes at a time, and then move on to another, and then go back to another at another time, just depending on what he's making. Right now it seems to be mostly Wharncliffe's originals and tactical clip points, what I've seen on his website. So this blade's a little longer. It's thin like this one. The difference in weight is negligible. This one I use as a paring knife in the kitchen. It's a perfect shape. It's got just enough edge to be a good cutter for food, and it's just I don't really see it as a tactical knife at all, but you can use it for anything, minus prying a door open. Some people like to have that ability in their knives. I really could care less. Same with chopping. If you need to chop something, get an axe, get a hatchet. You don't need a giant knife just to chop, because that's pretty much all that giant knives can do. they struggle when it comes to efficient slicing. I mean, I can testify that to myself. In a later review, I'm going to do my Bussy Combat knife, which is over 6 inches, and I just, you know, I don't really use it. It doesn't have much of a purpose in my eyes. Oh, and you may have noticed that all these knives are kind of shiny. It looks like there's oil on them, because there is. Murray Carter suggests that you always keep these in oil because they're very susceptible to rust. I live in Arizona, so I don't really have to worry about humidity, but I just keep them in oil anyways, and it's his Japanese oil that he sells, and it's completely non-toxic, so you can use it around food. It has no flavor and virtually no smell. So I don't really have to use the oil, but I do it anyway. Granted, I mean, they're not like gonna rust like crazy. What mostly happens, I mean, because it's a carbon steel core and a stainless laminate, so this part won't really rust. It's the core that you have to worry about. And the only changes I've seen is that the carbon steel gets a darker color if you cut acidic foods with it. These three are made from Hitachi white steel. That's one of the two steels he uses. The second being blue super steel, and I have a Wharncliffe version that's blue super steel, and that seems to discolor more with acidic foods like lemons or limes or oranges, whatever. But it just gets like, you know, dark and cloudy looking. I mean, it gives character to the knife. It's kind of like giving it a patina, so it doesn't bug me. But the reason that I bought neck knives from him instead of other knives is that his testament that neck knives are what you should use every day. He's, you know, made all types of knives, big knives, small knives, folders, and he only makes fixed blades anymore. And his favorite knives to make are neck knives, because he thinks they're the most practical knife to have with you on a regular basis. They can't do everything, but they can do a lot of things really well. And I agree with him. I still carry and use folders, but the majority of the time I have one of these on me anyway, just so I always have something that's razor sharp. So I highly suggest getting one if you've got the money. Go to his website, cartercutleryproducts.com. I think he has over 50 in stock right now, and they're all unique. I've never seen him have so many, but he claims his business is doing very well, so he's spending all his time making new knives. And he's a great guy to deal with, very friendly, always answers your emails, will answer any questions you need to know. And the more important thing about Carter knives is sharpening. He has done two DVDs on sharpening techniques, and you know, everyone on the internet, you know, always wants to talk about Lansky sharpeners and the Spyderco Sharp Maker, and I've used those, and they're so limited in reality as to what they can do. I've never been able to get the edge with those that I want, and I bought Murray Carter's Waterstones and watched his videos, and he's right. This is the way to sharpen knives. This is what they look like. This is a 1000 grit Japanese Waterstone. So these are always supposed to be soaked in water when you're using them. That's what you use to get your original bevel ground in and your primary edge ground in. And then this is a 6000 grit honing stone, also to be used when wet. This is what you strop it on to get the razor thin edge. And once you know, he says angles don't really matter. You just do it at the angle that you want, and he always does the thinnest angle he can, and it just works. You know, there's nothing else you can say. Once you learn how to do it right, it's better than any other sharpening method. So I highly suggest you try it if you're into sharpening. So that's it for my Carter knives. Later.